Good morning, friends. This is Reshma. Welcomes you to the discussion of very important concept, very interesting concept in database design, that is data modeling using ER diagram. So in previous session, I have discussed about different components of the ER model like entity, types, attributes, and the relationships. So now by using those components, now we'll give a final blueprint of the ER diagram which is ready to use for the implementation. Then how to construct or how to draw a conceptual ER diagram or conceptual design for a particular database in the real world. So here I have considered a company database and we will see how to construct a conceptual design for a company database. And for the company database, as the basic components of ER diagram, we need to include different entities, their attributes, and the relationships. These are the symbols which we need to use for the design of ER diagram, which we have already discussed. So now we'll take first one of the basic entity of company database is employee. So now if I see the employee entity type, so the properties or attributes of the employee entity type are employee name, social security number, salary, address, birth date, and now the employee belongs to some particular department, and here employee has some supervisor and employee works on some project. So now if I see the attributes of the employee, so some of the attributes, they form a relationship with another entity type. So the attributes of a employee are forming an association with other entity type. So then we need to convert those attributes into relationship. So first we need to find such attributes and then we need to form a relationship. So now if I take dependent, again it has dependent name, the employee on which dependent is depending, what is the relationship between the employee and the dependent, his birth date and gender will be defined. Similarly, if I go for department table, each department, it has a unique department number, his name, and department will be located in some location, and each department have a manager. Then we'll go for project identified by project number, located in some location, and some employee working on that project. So now using these entity types, we need to refine the ER diagram and produce it as a blueprint for the implementation of company database. So now for the refinement, what we have to do, we can refine the database design by changing attributes of some of the entity types that represent relationship into relationship type. See, for example, if I take department entity type, so now in department entity type, one of the attribute like manager. So this forms a manager's relationship between employee and department. So one of the employee of the employee table, he is behaving as manager for the department. So managers becomes the relationship. So now the cardinality constant is 1:1. So because one employee can manage only one department, so we have to form 1:1 relationship between employee and department. And if you go for participation constraint, employee will have partial participation because only some of the employees can become the managers, and department, it may be total or partial, because but we can go total also, because all department must have a manager. But sometimes if the manager is not yet allotted, in such cases it may also behave as partial participation. So here, as of now, it is not clearly specified. Again, based on the rules of the company, they can make it either total or partial participation. So now it will be indicated by employee managers department 1:1 relationship. And then now if we go for employee, so now here we need to find the attributes which forms relationship between employee and project or department. See, some of the employees, all employees, they should work for some department. Employee should work for some department. Between employee and department attribute, so department attribute will form a relationship as works for. And here participation cardinality constant is 1:n, because one department can have n number of employees, that is n employees works for one department, and both will be having total participation because all employees should work for the department, and all departments should have some employees. So here both department and employee will have total participation. It will be indicated like works for between department and employee 1:n. One department can have n employees. Both are total participation. Now if you go for the project, so here in project control, this behaves as the relationship between department and project. So each department will control some projects. Participation is total because all projects should be controlled by some department, and department is considered to be partial because all departments may not involved in the project design, but all projects should be controlled by some department. So the project will come under total participation and department under partial participation. See here, one project can handle n projects, all projects. So here total participation, not all departments may control the project. So here partial participation. Now the self-referencing or recursive relationship between employee and employee. So some employees behave as supervisor role, and some employees will be the supervisee role. So now here the relationship is supervision. So here it is 1:n relationship, because for n employees we can have one supervisor. For n employees, no need to have again n number of supervisors. One employee can become supervisor for n number of employees. So here both are partial because not all employees will behave as the supervisors, and not all employees will have some supervisor to supervise them. So this is partial participation. So 1:n, both are partial. So now here works on. So this determines an m:(n) relationship between the attributes. So here both are total participation. So because all employees should work on some projects, so we cannot leave any employee without working on any project, and all projects should be worked or handled by some of the employees. So now here works on forms a total participation between project and employee with m:(n) as the cardinality. So now from employee, we have two attributes. One is department and another works on, which formed the relationship. Now if we go for dependent, so in dependent, there is a relationship between dependent and the employee. So here, this is an identifying relationship. So because dependent is a weak entity type. So here the participation of employee is partial because not all employees are having the dependents, but dependent is total because all dependents should depend on at least some employees. So dependent and employee. So this is weak, dependent is weak entity type, employee strong entity type. So works for is identifying a relationship. Weak entity type indicated using double lined rectangle and identifying relationship with double line diamond shape. So this is the ER diagram, which is constructed with the help of entities, entity types, their attributes and the association, and also it has been refined by converting the attributes which are indicating relationship into relationship type, as we have discussed so far. So this is how we can design a conceptual ER diagram for a company database. So in next session, we'll see the alternative notation which are used for the construction of the ER diagram. Thank you. If you have any doubts, so please post your questions in the comment section. And to get my next videos, please subscribe and click on the bell button to get the continuous updations.